Hi everybody. I'm offering this highly informal, non-polished recording. It's actually my second try when the audio didn't work on the first, so it'll be especially brief. But I'm trying to provide an overview of the assignments for the coming week, especially as we start the course. I won't always do this for every week of our class. But let me start with the first major assignment, which was reading my draft commentary on Genesis 1. It's part of a series, the Kolhammer International Exegetical Commentary, which tries to put together synchronic close readings of a given level of the text. Sometimes the text has multiple sources, and those can all be read on a synchronic level. And diachronic study of the prehistory of a text, that is, its sources, various kinds of precursors that it depends on or engages. And each commentary in the series does this in a different way, and I do this in a different way with each part of Genesis 1 to 11. In this case, I go through the following order of major parts, starting with a translation of the text, along with a commentary specifically on text critical and philological issues in the text, followed by a diachronic prologue where I talk about that depth dimension of the text, in this case, the status of Genesis 1 as a priestly creation account that is dependent on and related to the Eden story that follows it, as well as Genesis 1 engaging in an often polemical way the Enuma Elish epic, and also being related in a complex way to Psalm 104. There are also some excurses, including a longer excursus on the translation of Genesis 1, 1 to 3, and a later one on text critical issues related to the Septuagint. The bulk of the commentary is a synchronic, diachronically informed, but synchronic close reading of Genesis 1, which is then followed by a synthesis, which includes a discussion of Sabbath as a potential later addition to the chapter. And the topic that I'm asking you to address, which looks like it's partially obscured by the video of me talking, but is basically to just post on what historical exegetical issues you found most interesting from your rereading of the chapter and your reading of my commentary, along with possibly Kathleen O'Connor's commentary, which I actually don't have a copy of, so I can't speak specifically about today. Those in the hybrid version of the course will be posting online about this, but those who are watching this video in the Hebrew workshop may also be interested in thinking about these issues, and we'll talk about them when we're together in class. The next major topic relates to the ancient Near Eastern cosmogonic or creation text traditions outside the Bible that you're reading for this class. These include a couple of well-known texts that are often related to biblical creation stories, the Atrahasis epic, particularly its creation section in this case, which occurs towards its outset, and the Enuma Elish epic. In addition, though, I'm having you read a couple of first millennium cosmogonic texts as illustrations of how Near Eastern creation texts written by scribes who fully knew about the flood tradition still wrote creation accounts that talked about the origins not just of the natural world, but especially of the social world of their readers without a corresponding flood account. And I'm interested in topic 2, what the biggest takeaway you had from a comparison contrast of Genesis 1 with these non-biblical cosmologies that you skimmed read. It's a lot of material, so I realize you'll need to be selective. And you also don't need to feel, if you're posting online after a few others have, that you need to have a completely different contrast from people who posted already. Ultimately, we're not just interested in the details, though, but also pulling together how we interpret the text as a whole. And so I'm asking you to address the somewhat artificial question of, if you had to name the main point or a main point of Genesis 1, based on the work that you've done, what might it be? And to justify that with at least 3 arguments. And they do not need to be 3 different types of arguments, but I'm giving 3 illustrative types of arguments you might keep in mind. One is you might build arguments based on the contrast of Genesis 1 with either Genesis 2 to 3 or with non-biblical accounts like the Enuma Elish, Atrahasis epic, or also the tradition in Psalm 104. Looking at the shape of Genesis 1, somewhat along the lines of the outline that we worked on for the overall primeval history, outlining Genesis 1 and seeing what message might be conveyed by the overall shape of Genesis 1 as you understand it. And also looking at, say, the extent to which Genesis 1 repeatedly seems to focus on certain themes that might point to its major focus. Finally, there are various articles that you're reading. I'm asking you to read at least 2, or possibly 1 if you've read Kathleen O'Connor. I've grouped these somewhat artificially into 2 groups, including a feminist post-colonial set, starting with Juliana Klassen's And the Moon Spoke Up, which is post-colonial feminist eco-critical reading of Genesis 1, Tribble's feminist reading of the chapter in The Dilemma of Dominion, and Moussa Dubé's post-colonial eco-feminist reading of Genesis 1, and God saw that it was very good. Group 2 includes an older article by Gross on intersexuality in Scripture that links with rabbinic traditions that link Genesis 1 with Genesis 2 to 3. Stone's article on the Garden of Eden and the heterosexual contract, which mostly focuses on the Eden story, but if you look at the first 5 pages, it introduces the problem of the heterosexual assumptions behind Genesis 1 and links it to discussions by Judith Butler and Monique Wittig. And then also Darren Guest's more recent chapter on Genesis 1, Troubling the Waters, which tries to argue for ways in which the chapter undermines the binaries it tries to build up. And the topic that I'm asking you to post on here, or think about at least, for those of you who are in the Hebrew section, is which of these articles would you most like to discuss and why? And this can mean either looking at stuff you'd like to critique, or things you found particularly illuminating, hopefully broader points. We, of course, won't be able to get to all of these, but this helps set up our discussion. So overall, we've got these 4 topics for the hybrid online version of the course, and we will address them to differing extents in our all-class meeting starting at 10. The first one on historical exegetical issues, and the second on comparison, and the third looking at sort of a broader main point to the chapter, are all elements that folks in the online hybrid version of the course will post at least twice on. That is, all of you will post before 9 a.m. on Monday your initial thoughts on the topic, and keep them brief, about 200 words. If you want to add an addendum, go ahead and do so, but mark it clearly so people who are pressed for time can focus on what you thought was most important. And then later in the day, read your classmates' post and respond to at least one of them. Ideally, engaging in some discussion. So you don't all have to post on different ones. Multiple ones of you may post on one of your classmates' threads, and I'm hoping that we'll generate some kind of discussion. And I'm not wanting to overly program it at this point. We'll see how it goes. All of you also should post by 8 p.m. on Monday your answer to topic 4, which is which of the articles you'd most like to discuss and why. And again, keep it brief. But these posts take the place of what my initial syllabus indicated as a reflection paper. It may come to be that it'll seem to make sense to do a reflection paper later on, but I'm hoping that these posts and the discussion that they generate can take the place of such a paper and my review of it. So anyway, that's the overall overview of the course. I very much look forward to seeing your input on it. And we'll get together on Tuesday at 10. And folks in the online hybrid version, I think I'll be asking you to probably start the discussion. So be prepared for that, not with a sort of mini lecture on a particular topic or whatever, but I'm just trying to give you a heads up that I think it'd be good, since other people who have been meeting, to be the first to come to voice as we regather. And with that prelude, I'll sign off. Best wishes to you all.